January 13th, 2025, and I'm your host, Trevor May, zero-time All-Star, but 10-time happy person. What? That's not going to be my tagline. We'll work on it. We will work on it. Let's get into a little bit of news. First up, Roki Sasaki. Where is this gentleman going to go? For those of you that are not aware, Roki Sasaki is the 23-year-old phenom from Japan. Yes, there is another one, and is a basically an international side free agent. Every team gets a crack at him, and basically he's being courted like it's The Bachelor, which I think is important because this guy could legitimately be a perennial Cy Young candidate if he develops into the player that we all know that he can be. Now, we've had some news. There are a bunch of teams basically made a pitch to him. He went back to Japan, and just so you guys all know, the 15th is International Posting Day, basically. International signings can make their decision starting on the 15th, or he is anyway. And when that happens, basically all the legwork is being done behind the scenes. He's meeting with teams, he's getting their pitches, then he's chewing on them, and then they're all kind of doing it that way. But it turns out he's been kind of putting it out there, at least through his representation, that there's certain teams he's not interested in. Those teams that were pitching and are now out are the Rangers, the Giants, and the Yankees. Now, I believe the Rangers, Giants, and Yankees were all kind of given the na-na from him. I think he was just like, guys, I'm not interested. And then the Mets have kind of pulled the reins back themselves. So the Mets are very likely out as well. So those four big teams no longer likely to land Roki Sasaki. There are rumblings. The Blue Jays are currently still in. There are rumblings about the Mariners maybe throwing out some conversations. But the front runners are as follows: the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers are probably the highest likelihood. So super team continues, but win a World Series at the right time. This stuff tends to happen to you. So, but there were a lot of teams in there. A lot of teams gave him pitches, but those are the teams that we know of so far, which is, that all kind of happened today, actually, in the last hour or so. So we still got some teams in. I think the Mariners, I'm the biggest purveyor of the Mariners going to get him. They're not going to get him. It's not going to happen. Don't hold your breath because you might pass out. Okay. Whoever gets Roki Sasaki, let me just say this. The kid is electric, though his velo down a little bit last year in strikeout rate, though still very high, was lower. He just needs to go to somewhere that's good pitching development. That's all we're looking for at this point. I believe that's what he's looking for. He wants to own kind of the Japanese market, but there's a lot of Japanese players now, and it's kind of hard. You're going to be overshadowed by Ohtani wherever you are. So I think at this point, he's just looking for opportunity and ability to develop, and a team that will be competing in the near future without it being the world where all the pressure in the world is to become the best, to become the ideal version of yourself today, and that's just not going to happen. So Roki Sasaki, please pick wisely. Thank you. Next up, we have a couple new free agents. Actually, there's three of them. We have a handful of free agents, all that there's been reports for each one of them that they might be willing to take shorter term deals. We have Jack Flaherty and Anthony Santander. We talked last week about Anthony was attached pretty strongly to the Blue Jays, and I think he would be a great fit there, especially behind Vladdy. Though signing him would most likely get them over the first level of that luxury tax. So they're at $223, I think, in payroll right now. That would put them they have $18 million to work before they hit that first tier. Now, the first tier is not a huge deal, especially if you're barely going over it. You're just paying 20% tax. So it'll be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars probably. But if you're blowing past it, it can get expensive really quickly. So Anthony, though, now that we're late the offseason, and I'm going to notice this about these three guys. These changes in what they were asking for a little bit happened at the turn of the year. And what happens as offseasons continue on, the team gets more and more leverage, and the player loses leverage because the closer the season gets, the team can replace a spot. The player can't go get another job in another league. They just can't. So the pressure becomes more and more on the player. That's why so many of these guys in this realm, and have in Montgomery and Blake Snell last year, in this kind of group, tend to be, they just wait him out because they can. And so I think they're all trying to missing any spring training, which makes a ton of sense to me. Nobody wants to miss spring training. So they're open to shorter deals. Anthony Santander and starting pitcher Jack Flaherty are open to considering short-term deals with high AAVs, average annual values, meaning we'll take a little bit more money, but we'll go shorter deals and we'll give opt-outs at every level. And that way, you have flexibility to get rid of us, right? So we see these deals being thrown out there when guys believe in their potential and they are a high, but no one wants to sign them for 7 years. I understand that. So we're looking at 2, 3, 4, probably not 2s, 3 to 4 year deals in that range for these two guys, with the Blue Jays still leading for Flaherty, but haven't heard a lot about Jack, where he's going, who he's talking to. But I'm sure the long-term deal he was asking for is the problem. And so basically they're looking at Blake Snell, they're looking at Matt Chapman, and they're looking at Cody Bellinger as opportunities to go reclaim some of your contract, either opt out or get extended there and recoup your value there. Now, the issue is, at least for Santander and then Pete Alonso, who we're going to talk about in a minute, they're power guys. They're corner outfield, corner infield, they're power guys. The starting pitchers are different usually for recouping. Like, if you're a power guy, you want to go somewhere you're going to allow to have power because that's your value in order to recoup that value. For example, Alonso going to Seattle for 3 years doesn't make any sense because he's not going to hit more home runs there. Like, he's not going to hit 50 homers. It's just not going to happen. It's not one of those places. So them kind of changing their tune a little bit. Flaherty, Giants, Blue Jays, Tigers, and Cubs. I think he ends up going to the Tigers. I think that's just going to be a good opportunity there for him. But Cubs are another interesting issue. Honestly, all 4 of those. It'd be interesting to see if he went to the Giants, because we have Verlander, who we're going to talk about in a moment. The Giants doing a little bit with starting pitching, something that could be valuable. So we'll see how those things materialize in the next few days. But I'm sure the Sasaki thing is the number one thing in a lot of people's minds. Next up, Pete Alonso, same thing, same diff. I know I just talked about him a little bit. Pete Alonso is now being linked to the Mets again. But I believe his AAV is still a little bit too high for their tastes. But I would expect the Mets would be the front runner to re-sign Pete Alonso to one of those short-term kind of value recouping deals. But I understand Citi Field's not the greatest place to hit for Bauer, but he's done it his whole career. So if you're going to try to, let's go try it again. At least go to the Mets and do it, especially because they have a vacancy and they don't really know what they want to do over there. So Pete's an amazing teammate. Thank you, Ima, for asking that question. Pete is a phenomenal teammate. Pete really loves Flushing, loves being a Met. He just loved the community, and he did all of his charity events, in the area. I don't know. Pete just loved it there, loves it there, and I think he would prefer to stay if he could. But and for him to kind of not take the deal they offered before and now be at a lower AAV, it probably isn't the best feeling, but at the same time, he's going to get paid. He's going to be set up for life no matter what he does. And I think he's pretty good at, I've spoken to him at length about some serious stuff, and he's a guy who understands that. Getting paid your maximum value only goes so far, right? He's not going to be stubborn about it, right? If things don't work out, they don't work out, but he's going to go for it. So I respect hey, I have this opportunity. I'm going to see what's out there. It doesn't coalesce. Then you take less and you kind of live with that. But he's going to, he's a very valuable first baseman, still one of the most valuable first basemen out there. I think that anyone who gets him is going to get a producer, and he gets guys in. And the Mets went and got Soto. So you can get him for cheaper. Do it. So I am a big fan of Pete Alonso back to the Mets. It just kind of sucks that you just lost a bunch of leverage, and that's where we are now. You know what I mean? In other free agency news, Justin Verlander is now a San Francisco Giant. One of the best parks to pitch in. Very hard to give up home runs to righties. Love that. Signed a 1-year, $15 million contract with the San Francisco Giants. The 41-year-old is looking to bounce back a little bit after one of the tougher years he's had. We will be doing a little bit of a deep dive on why that year went the way it did towards the end of the show. Actually, it's going to be the last thing we do, and we're going to get into Savant. We're going to do all that stuff. But I think it's a great pickup. Logan Webb is the ace. If he can recoup any sort of value, he's just having a veteran like this around is going to be a big deal anyways. I'm interested to see how he adjusts how he pitches, because he has been a fastball up, slider down, curveball down guy, swing and miss guy. But now that the velocity has gone below average and his ride is down a little bit as a result, then, There's maybe room for using the bottom of the zone a little bit. We were talking about this the other day on Rates and Barrels with Eno Saris and Derek Van Riper. That's a show we do, by the way, usually live on Thursdays at 10 a.m. This one was recorded, so go check that out, How to Be a Nerd. Anyway, we were talking about Verlander and the types of things that he could add to his repertoire, and we think that going over to San Francisco might be something that helps those things kind of come together. So I'm interested to see if he can get a sinker going, a splitter maybe a little bit. He's got the arm action for those things. He's been a little bit slower to the two fastball, meta. So that could be, it's something he can toy with and play with because he's in San Francisco, right? And it's tough to hit there, and you can get away with kind of making those adjustments. So it'll be interesting to see what he does, or if he comes back just in great shape, throwing 97 again. That wouldn't surprise me one frickin' bit. Also, random stat thrown at the mind-blowing stat: Tim Lincecum is younger than Justin Verlander. Tim Lincecum is younger than Justin Verlander. Also, you want to know one other random stat? The player, and I think I've said this before on the show, but we're going to make this official. This is an official stat of the day. We're going to do one of these every week. With the most career major league at-bats without ever being intentionally walked is Gary DiSarcina with 4,200 major league at-bats, which is like a 10-year career, which is crazy. He's a punch and Judy. But imagine hitting for 4,000 times and never getting intentionally walked. Everyone gets intentionally walked at some point in their career. Everybody. Like, just because of situations, of matchups. And he never got walked. Also, another fun fact, which I'm just going to throw them both out there because I saw this one on the internet. We can go grab the tweet because it was from someone we did a podcast with. Vinny Pasquantino recently threw out the accusation that Jake Berger swung at 23 straight pitches at one point in a Major League Baseball game. 23 straight pitches, which is crazy. That's multiple games, right? 23 straight swung. And he's like, that's got to be a record. And, of course, friend of the show, friend of mine, friend of all of baseball, Sarah Langs, the wizard herself, the stats wizard herself, confirmed he has the Major League record of 23 swings in a row at pitches. Jake Berger, we salute you, sir. We salute you. I have no idea how many hits. I just know he swung a lot. Honestly, if he had like 8 hits, then keep swinging, my friend. Keep swinging. I guess that's kind of important information. Should have looked that up. All right, back to the news a little bit. Justin Verlander going to the Giants. We also have Jeff Hoffman signs a 3-year deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. Finally, the Toronto Blue Jays get somebody. 3-year, $33 million to, I think he's going to be their primary closer along with Chad Green. We'll see how this thing plays out. But after 2 very good years in the Philadelphia Phillies organization, he finally got to free agency after a tough stretch going from Colorado to Cincinnati to start his career. Yikes. You don't want to do that as a pitcher. He gets to Philly. He throws great. And now he is with the Blue Jays. But he was with the Orioles before. The Orioles were offering him 3 or $40 million. And then they checked out his shoulder. And there were some red flags. And they decided to back out. Now, if anyone out there is surprised that the Orioles backed out or got scared by something, color me surprised, because they are the most risk-adverse team I've ever seen at this moment. And so, his price fell and he went to another team. It was also told that the Braves also were in on signing him, and he failed the physical there too. Now there's 2 teams involved. Now I'm a little bit worried. I don't know what's going on. I just want you guys to know this. If you go and you scan any pitcher's arms, you're going to find something. Something's wrong. Trust me, it looks like a grenade went off in there. It just is. Some people can throw with shredded shoulders. Some people can't. If it don't hurt, don't fix it. It's like one of those things. Like the Blue Jays at this point are just like, somebody come to our team. Just anybody at all, please. And so they got him. And I think this is a great pickup. He is that classic slider, hard fastball, 97 up top of zone, banger, 87 bottom zone. We'll see you later. And he has a little cute little 12% of the time splitter in there. It gets whiffed at 30% of the time. Then you throw in a little sinker 8% of the time, get some ground balls. Ideal. Here we go, moving on. Sheil Seidler, wife of the late Padres owner, sues in-laws for control of the team. The team in question, the San Diego Padres. Now, as many of you know, Peter Seidler, the longtime owner of the Padres, passed away fairly recently. But his widow Scheel. I apologize if that's wrong, but Scheel Seidler sued two of her brothers-in-law, accusing Matt and Bob Seidler of breaches of fiduciary duty, fraud, and broadcasting her desire to gain control of the team. Basically, they told people that she wanted to maintain control of the team. Oh no! In the middle of this, by the way, guys, taking a quick sidebar from the Seidler news, we have our first Seattle Mariners free agency sign, courtesy of Henry over in the newsroom. Donovan Solano. Welcome to Seattle, my friend. The first free agency sign on January 13th, 2025 is Donovan Solano. A 1-year major league contract. He can play everywhere. It's going to be interesting. He'll probably be first bat, third bat. I don't know which place he's going to play, but he can play all the positions they need, which is first, second, and third. And they said you couldn't do it. Love that, Jeff. They said you guys wouldn't do anything. Look at you. So, Donovan Solano, you know what? He is a rock-solid player. Is he a difference maker? No, he's not, but he is a quality depth piece. He is a veteran. He's been around for a long time, and he never hurts the teams he's on. He never has a down year, per se. He's always solid. So, low ceiling, but low floor as well. Like, really quickly, let's touch on this Seidler. So, with this complaint and a little bit of the discord in the old the top floor over there in San Diego in Petco, it's going to be interesting to see how this affects Roki Sasaki's decision. As we talked about earlier, the Dodgers and San Diego Pods are kind of competing for his favor, and so if you have a little bit of infighting going up top, that's not really that exciting to get a part of. We see with Twins struggling to do anything this offseason because they don't know what their future looks like with their ownership. It's one of those things where if there's ownership issues, you simply don't know what you can do. So this is getting pretty spicy. People are throwing stuff all over the place. It's very similar to the Angelo situation before they sold to David Rubenstein over there in the Orioles. And now the Orioles have their situation going on where they won't sign anybody. So I hope this doesn't create this. Obviously, they're not going to sign anybody, and we can say that they always never count them out to sign somebody. But for now, right now, I do not anticipate the San Diego Padres signing a new player. Probably this year. I think we can throw that out the window. So not great. Not great for Padres fans, I'm sorry, but you still have a lot of really good players, and you're going to compete with the team you have. So at least you have that going for you. Past this year, though, I don't know. I'm sorry.